Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own Operation Christmas for Shitbird or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by Johanna's Motivational Insults, and you can find the link in our show notes. This story is being read to you by Joe.
Operation Christmas for Shitbird. It's December 22nd, and the post-holiday haze has already set in. It's December 22nd, and the post-holiday haze has already set in. It's a sleepy morning, everyone having already straggled in for breakfast in various states of dishevelment. Last night's celebrations have left them all hungover in more ways than one, even Kalita, who refused to be denied the holiday rum. She's paying for it now, passed out on one of the couches with a bag of frozen peas. Adil and Abigail are snuggled up on the other, dead to the world. Telly and Scylla are sitting cross-legged by the fireplace, drinking coffee and chatting quietly. Quinn is drinking hers at the dining table with Nicta, both of them relaxed back in their chairs. They all seem content. Tired, but content. Raelle's the odd one out, on her own in the kitchen. Technically, it's Kalita's turn to be cleaning up after breakfast, but after an unfortunate incident involving projectile vomit and Nicta's shoes, she decided to take pity on the poor kid. Honestly, though, she was grateful for the excuse to opt out of the post-holiday wind-down. It feels weird. Wrong, somehow. At home, the solstice was the beginning, but here it's the end. Her task helps a little, at least, keeping her mind and hands occupied. She rinses and loads the dishes quietly, doing her best not to bang them around and trigger any headaches or death threats, but she does have the radio playing softly in the background. The airwaves are still filled with holiday cheer, at least. The civilian world's still gearing up for their big holiday. The familiar songs bring a smile to Raelle's lips, but there's an empty ache inside of her that won't go away. Maybe it's like this for everyone. Soldiers rarely get the chance to go home for the holidays, and this is her first year away. It was bound to be hard. Of course, she's grateful to be with her new family of sorts, and she knows she's luckier than most of them, having a piece of her old one with her. Last night was wonderful, really. It's probably the best solstice she's had. But everyone else got to celebrate their big holiday together, and she'll be celebrating hers alone. Well, not completely alone. Quinn's here, at least. She was never quite as into Christmas, but at least she celebrates it. Like most Christo-pagans, she treats it almost as a secondary holiday. Raelle's not sure she would have even bothered with it at all if not for the Collar family. Her dad was the one who was really into Christmas. Not the religious aspects so much, but all the lights and wonder and carols and whatnot. Edwin loves that shit, goes overboard decking out the house every year. Raelle actually grew up believing in Santa Claus, like most kids at her school. Yeah, apparently that's not normal. Not for witches. She let that slip a few weeks ago and hasn't heard the end of it since. Yo, Shitbird, think we should clean the chimney? Don't want the old guy to get stuck and cause an international incident. Nicta has been particularly merciless, and Tally's gotten her shots in as well. Hey, Collar, I'm heading into town. Want me to drop off your letter to Santa? Ooh, don't forget the milk and cookies! Even Scylla's been giving her a rough ride. Ho, 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 I hear someone's been a very naughty girl. Okay, admittedly that time wasn't so bad. Raelle smirks, gazing out over her expanded unit and the chaos of their living room. She's gotten accustomed to the teasing. When it's them, she knows it's all out of love. This is one of the few places she's really felt she belonged, even if she is a little different. They're all different, maybe that's why. It's quite the mishmash. A high Atlantic kid, a Dodger kid, a matrifocal kid, a couple nomads, a couple Christo-pagans, a couple reformed terrorists. Hell, why not throw in an outcross or two just for fun? Raelle doesn't fit in, and that's why she fits in. This is as close to feeling at home as she's going to get. She's actually pretty happy here. She does wish they had a tree, though. Her thoughts are interrupted by footsteps to her right, and she glances over to see Quinn approaching with an empty mug to add to her dwindling pile of dishes. Want some help, kiddo? Asks Quinn, her smile twitching sympathetically. Just about done, says Raelle, but thanks. Taking the mug, she glances back into the living room as she rinses it out. Nicta has left the table too, and is just settling behind Tally, wrapping her up and propping her chin on her shoulder. Raelle's eyes flick away, landing back on the mug as she shakes off the excess water. Has Nicta recovered? She asks, smirking over at Quinn as she places it in the dishwasher. Quinn chuckles, mirroring her expression. She'll be fine. Her shoes are another story. Might need a few rounds in the washing machine. Her smile slips slightly as she lifts a hand to rest on Raelle's shoulder. What about you? Raelle shrugs, returning her gaze to the mountain of cutlery in the sink. I saw a soldier throw up witch plague in the attack. Regular barf is nothing after that. Unfortunately, Quinn doesn't let it go that easily. I mean, how are you holding up? She clarifies. When Raelle neglects to answer, too busy swallowing the resurging lump in her throat, Quinn steps up and pulls her into a side hug. It's okay, Ray, she says. You can talk to me. There's no point lying and saying she's fine. Quinn knows her too well. Abandoning her task with a sigh, Raelle grips the edge of the sink, squinting into the living room. It's weird, she admits, solstice being the big thing. She frowns, eyes falling to her hands. I miss my dad. I know, honey, sympathizes Quinn, pulling her tighter into her side. We'll make the big breakfast on Christmas morning like we always would, okay? The use of we is almost laughable, given how few Christmases Quinn was actually around for, but Raelle appreciates the sentiment all the same. Sad thing is, she still spent more Christmases with Quinn than her actual mother. On the rare occasions Willa got to come home for solstice, she'd almost always be shipped back out by Christmas Day. Raelle used to wonder if the army did that on purpose. Knowing what she does now, she's all but certain of it. Okay, she says, turning in Quinn's grasp to give her a proper hug. Thanks, Quinn. It's not ideal, but it's good enough. It'll have to be. A couple nights later, Scylla drags Raelle away from the sink when it's actually her turn to clean up, claiming she needs her for a supply run. It's Christmas Eve, says Raelle. What'll be open this late on Christmas Eve? You'd be surprised, mutters Scylla. Jerking her head towards the garage, she urges her, Come on, keep me company. Any excuse is a good excuse to keep Scylla company, but Raelle hesitates nonetheless. Can it wait a little? Quinn'll kill me if I don't do my chores. I'll take care of it, Raelle, Kalita assures her, carrying a small load of dishes over from the dining table. Smiling sheepishly, she admits, I kind of owe you one. See? Chirps Scylla. It'll be fine. Latching onto Raelle's hand, she all but drags her around the corner. Raelle barely has a chance to call a hurried thank you over her shoulder. When Scylla opens the door to the mudroom, they're greeted by a couple more bodies already bundling up. Raelle pauses, eyes flicking suspiciously between them. You guys are coming too? Yep, it's a group effort, Abigail tells her. A very serious mission, adds Tally, though her infectious grin does little to sell it. We're tackling this as a unit. Okay? Raelle looks from them to Scylla, who's digging their coats out of the closet. When Scylla turns and registers the uncertainty in Raelle's stance, she prowls closer with a devious grin. Suit up, Cadet Collar, Scylla orders her, thrusting the coat into her chest. It's cold out there. Raelle may not be one for taking orders, but when it's Scylla it's different, especially when she's looking at her like that. She hustles to put on her coat and warmer boots, but hits a snag when she can't find her beanie and gloves. Hurry up, Ray, Abigail nags her, already waiting by the door to the garage. We're going to be late. Not with you driving, Scylla sasses her, waiting patiently by Raelle's side. Abigail's eyes narrow. Thought you'd be the one obsessed with making good time. Not if it's going to stress her out in the process. Here, they're here, announces Tally, triumphantly shoving the missing items into Raelle's grasp. Now come on, let's go. Tally nabs Raelle's hand and yanks her toward the door, practically sweeping her off her feet in the midst of her excitement. It's all just a little too much. Raelle is incapable of feeling at ease when she has no idea what the fuck is going on, and this is starting to give her the creeps. Wait, she interjects as Tally tows her across the garage. What's going on, Tal? Sorry, can't say, Tally sing-songs, zipping her lips. It's a surprise. Abigail facepalms, stopping in her tracks. Tally, it's not a surprise if you tell her it's a surprise. Brow crinkling adorably, Tally reasons, Well, Okay, it's not a surprise that there is a surprise, but the surprise is still a surprise. Slinging an arm around Rael's shoulder, she adds, besides, she knew something was going on. Yeah, you all are being really weird, agrees Rael, suspicious eyes moving from them to Scylla as she steps up beside her. Oh, fine, it's a surprise, Abigail admits with a groan. Now can you please stop asking so many questions? Rael sighs, tossing a resigned hand. Can you at least tell me where we're going? Nope, says Scylla, her smirk nearly as infuriating as Nicta's. Moving in closer, she grips the lapels of Rael's coat and locks eyes with her in one of those hypnotic stares she's so good at. Have patience, Rael. Do you trust us? Halfway paralyzed by that look, Rael stammers, Yeah, of course. Good, states Scylla, smiling deviously. Then all you need to know is we're getting in that car and going somewhere fun. It's annoying just how easily Scylla can disarm her. Maybe even dangerous. But Rael wouldn't have it any other way. Fine, she grumbles. Nope. Fine, she grumbles, throwing in a half-hearted indignant scowl, and follows the others to the car. She's just reaching for the rear passenger door when the door to the mudroom opens and closes behind them, making them all look over their shoulders. Oh, hell no, says Abigail. She storms back around the car, facing the newcomer with arms crossed. What do you think you're doing? Oh, didn't Quinn tell you? Nicta purrs as she approaches, wearing a proud smirk. I'm the chaperone. Tally laughs out loud, drawing a glare from Nicta that does nothing to deter her. I'm sorry, but come on. That's hilarious. Yeah, you're the one who needs a chaperone, teases Rael. It's barely even a joke. Then I guess it's a good thing she's coming, deadpans Nicta, jerking her thumb at Tally. Tally squeaks in reply, cheeks flushing red. Okay, no, declares Abigail, stepping into Nicta's space and towering over her. This is a delicate operation, and I'm not going to let you blow the whole thing. I'm not going to blow anything, Nicta argues calmly. We are not setting you loose in a city crawling with civilians. Do you think we're stupid? Nicta clutches her chest, wincing comically. You wound me, Bells. I'm reformed now, remember? Eyes narrowing, Abigail tells her, I know you're up to something. Yeah, I am, Nicta says plainly. I want to spend a night out with my girlfriend. That silences the argument. No one says anything for a moment, not until Tally steps around Rael and slips an arm over Nicta's shoulder. Hey, Nick, she says gently. When Nicta looks up, Tally gives her an apologetic wince. This was kind of meant to be a unity thing, actually. Oh, mutters Nicta, her brow furrowing. Suddenly her face goes pale and slack, eyes darting around the group. Oh! Sorry, Flushing crimson, Nicta gestures at Scylla. She's going, so I thought... It's okay, says Tally, taking her hands in a reassuring squeeze. Twitching her mouth in apology, she leans in to kiss her girlfriend's forehead. I'll see you when we get back, okay? Nicta relaxes, or maybe deflates, as she sighs the tension out of her body. She nods, her expression somewhere between disappointed and sheepish as she meets Tally's gaze. Yeah, okay. She can come, declares Rael. Everyone turns her way, their expressions various shades of disbelief. She's as surprised as any of them, to be honest, but she doesn't let it show. What? This is all for me, right? I say she can come. Are you sure? Asks Tally, eyebrows raised. She knows the two of them haven't always gotten along, for a variety of reasons. That there's still some residual tension, that Nicta tagging along could easily ruin Rael's night, if she lets it. Forcing a smile, Rael tells her, Yeah, 'tis the season, right? Nicta peers curiously at Rael, giving her a grateful nod. Thanks, caller. Uh-huh, mutters Rael, flashing a cheeky smirk. Merry Christmas, Batan. Groaning her displeasure, Abigail concedes, Fine, you can come. But if you cause any trouble, I'll sleep you and send your ass back to Fort Salem. Let my mom and Alder have their way with you. Nicta stiffens and Tally's arm loops protectively around her waist. That's not funny, Abs. Wasn't meant to be. Twirling the keys around her finger, Abigail adds smugly, Oh, and I'm driving. Nicta starts to protest but snaps her mouth shut. Fine. As the group moves back to the car, Rael's eyes flick between the two of them in concern. Maybe someone should tell Abigail about the whole Nicta and Alder thing. It's been kind of funny watching it go over her head again and again, but it's made her knack for insensitivity even worse. While Nicta wasn't as devastated by Alder's resurrection as Rael might have expected, mentions of their former commander-in-chief never failed to make her tense. To be fair, Rael would probably be tense too if she had a 300-year-old undead ex-girlfriend with a history of assassination and execution attempts between them. Sliding over to sit beside Scylla, Raelle glances back out to see Tally pointing a finger at her girlfriend's chest, a firm no-nonsense look on her face. "No murder," she scolds her preemptively. "No murder," agrees Nicta. "I promise." Tally holds her gaze a few more seconds before disengaging, apparently satisfied. She surrenders shotgun to squeeze in beside Raelle, leaving Nicta to sulk in the passenger seat and trade scowls with Abigail. Those two actually get along decently most of the time, to everyone's surprise, but Abigail does not appreciate people fucking up her plans. She's bound to be pissed for the rest of the trip. Patting Raelle's thigh as she buckles up, Tally beams at her, practically vibrating with excitement. "You're gonna love it, Ray. I can't wait." Normally Raelle wouldn't want to be squished in the middle of a back seat, but it's between Tally and Scylla, so she can't really complain. Averting her eyes with a shrug, Raelle deadpans, "Last time I got kidnapped, I died 3 times. I'm sure this will be an improvement." Nicta snorts, but nobody else seems particularly amused. Abigail shoots her a glare in the rearview mirror. Scylla tightens her grip on her hand, and Tally stares at her with wide, sad eyes. "Can we not joke about that?" says Tally. "Come on, it's funny," insists Raelle, cracking a smile and glancing over at Scylla. When Scylla just winces, she seeks support elsewhere. Right, Batan? At least Nicta appreciates Raelle's dark humor. It's one of many unexpected things they have in common. But she doesn't come to her aid, instead saying, "I'm staying out of this one for my own health." "Traitor," mutters Raelle. "Smart choice," Abigail says at the same time, all but drowning her out. "Fighting with your girlfriend might make you go gray." Nicta retaliates with a punch to the shoulder, and she snaps, "Hey, no punching the driver. This is basic road safety, Batan." The two of them continue to trade verbal barbs as Abigail starts the car and begins backing out. Tally is starting to look legitimately concerned, but Raelle just laughs, all but tuning it out. Abigail and Nicta's bickering is just one more thing she's gotten used to in the past month and a half, part of the soundtrack of her new and extremely weird life. Leaning into Scylla's shoulder, Raelle turns her head and whispers, "So, we're going to a city crawling with civilians, huh?" Scylla smirks, eyes sparkling with a familiar look of mischief. "You wait and see." What should be nearly an hour's drive takes less than 40 minutes with Abigail at the helm. Raelle's feeling a little queasy by the time they're approaching the city limits, but she knows better than to complain. Pulling off onto the shoulder, Abigail kills the engine and pulls out her lighter. "Faces on, ladies," she orders. "We don't want to draw attention with fire when we're in town." She looks out the window, waiting for the cars behind them to pass before looking to Tally. "We clear, Tal?" Tally takes a moment to engage her sight, scanning the highway for incoming vehicles. "Yep, we're good." All 5 of them fire up their lighters, suiting up in their chosen disguises. This isn't a working Raelle ever expected to use for herself, but she's grateful Nicta decided to share it with them. She would have gone crazy if she was stuck in that house for a whole week, let alone a whole month. When the flames die down, Abigail looks over her shoulder to check on everyone's disguises, finishing the sweep with a glance at Nicta. She gives the older witch a vaguely perplexed look, but blinks it away and shakes her head, starting the car up again. Raelle doesn't think much of it until after they've parked close to downtown and they're getting out of the car, when Tally freezes halfway out the door. "Wow," says Tally, her voice somewhere between shocked and reverent. "What?" asks Raelle, crawling the rest of the way across the seat. She pops up beside Tally, balking at the sight of a handsome young man standing on the other side of the door. "Whoa, what the fuck?" "What?" Nicta asks defensively, hands jamming in his pockets. "Sometimes it's fun being a guy." Abigail scoffs, but she's grinning as she rounds the hood. "You just want an excuse to be taller." Nicta huffs, glaring back at Abigail. She's actually not much taller than normal. Changing her figure too drastically would ruin her clothes. Raelle learned that the hard way. But it's enough to bring him up above Tally's eyebrows, narrow the gap considerably. Abigail's disguise, meanwhile, has similar proportions to her, but a wider face and curlier hair, with strands of blonde woven in, contrasting the natural black in a striking fashion. She looks really pretty, actually. Tally's looking amazing as well. It's easier to see now in the glow of the streetlights than in the shadows of the car. She's turned herself into a dark brunette, which, yeah, that isn't fair. The dimples on her borrowed face are smaller, but it's still a good look on her. And Scylla's disguise is a total fucking smoke show. Her hair is a shade lighter, but she has those same crystal blue eyes, not to mention a dusting of freckles and a badass scar over her eyebrow. Raelle can't call it an improvement exactly, not when Scylla looks like Scylla, and she loves Scylla so much, but it's hard not to stare at that face. Goddess, she is so fucking gay. I think he looks cute, says Tally, grinning ear to ear as she thumbs Nicta's cheek. She's not wrong, either. Rael may not swing that way, but she can appreciate an aesthetically pleasing person regardless. Nicta's hair is lighter and shorter now, kind of a sandy-colored mop, his eyes a speckled hazel. As Rael stares into them, it occurs to her that this is the first time she's really been able to pick out Nicta's pupils from her irises. To be honest, she's feeling a little underdressed in comparison. Her disguise isn't ugly by any means. She's a cute brunette with a strong jaw and striking green eyes, but everyone else is legitimately hot. You can make yourself as attractive as you like with this working, and she picked a face on the high side of average. On the bright side, less people staring at her means less attention and less chance of tripping up and being sent back to prison. Nicta blushes at the compliment, ducking his face into his collar. Well, I'm glad someone thinks so. Mm-hmm, murmurs Tally, her eyes sparkling and smirk sinfully devious. Gross, mutters Abigail. Jerking her head into town, she orders, All right, let's go. Scylla steps forward, raising a challenging eyebrow. Whose operation is this again? My bad, Abigail replies with equal sass. Force of habit. Twirling her hand as she bows, she steps aside for Scylla. Lead the way, Necro. Smirking proudly, Scylla takes Rael's hand and leads them toward the bustling town center. The scenery is beautiful on the way in, various shops lit up with Christmas lights and dusted in snow, but Rael can barely focus on that. She's been off the property with Scylla before, wearing various faces, but never while acting as a couple. It's disconcerting holding the hand of what looks like a totally different girl, even if said girl has hot mercenary vibes. Her stomach twists inside her, protesting the conflicting emotions of discomfort and arousal, and she can't stop taking uneasy peeks. She might be starting to understand why Scylla is so obsessed with her cheek scar. When they get to their destination, her attention is finally torn away completely, eyes bulging at the sight before her. They're in a large open square, and it's all been taken over by Christmas cheer. There's booths selling everything from food and drink to ornaments and tacky sweaters, a grandstand with a brass band warming up, even a full-sized ice rink. Oh, wow, she breathes, eyes drifting up as they pass through a lighted archway into the square itself. Beautiful, huh? Says Scylla, thumb brushing over the back of Rael's hand. They do this every December. Skating and Christmas market all month, live music on weekends and Christmas Eve. We knew you were missing Christmas, Tally chimes in, popping up on Rael's other side and squeezing her tight to her ribs. We thought it would be fun for you. Rael's cheeks are burning, and not just from the cold. Ducking her head slightly, she gives him a sheepish yet grateful smile. Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks, guys. Of course, says Scylla, eyes soft and twinkling. Abigail walks out in front of them, gesturing at a large clock nearby. We've got plenty of time. Should we wander? Hell yeah, Rael concurs. Let's explore. They spend the next half hour or so perusing the booths, filling up on apple cider and mini donuts and window shopping for various Christmas novelties. Nicta seems to get bored pretty quickly, idly flicking his lighter open and shut, but for once she doesn't complain, letting Tally drag her around and listening attentively every time she finds a new thing to gush about. Scylla and Abigail are a little more subdued, but seem to be having a good time, appreciating the holiday aesthetics and asking Rael mostly not insensitive questions. No, she doesn't know where the ugly sweater tradition came from. Yes, Christians really believe in the whole virgin birth thing. No, she has no idea how that works. All in all, it's a pretty enjoyable outing until Tally squeals and drops Nicta's hand in favor of Rael's, yanking her over to one of the booths. Oh my goddess, we have to get you one, she exclaims, pointing at the Santa hats on display. Shh, Nicta teases, finger pressed to his smirking lips as he catches up. Language. We're civilians, remember? Oh, right, says Tally, wincing sheepishly. Shaking her head, she turns back to Rael and repeats with equal enthusiasm, Oh my god, we need to get you one. Fighting off a rising smile, Rael shakes her head. Tal. What? It'll be adorable. We can send pictures to your dad. When Rael doesn't budge, Tally pulls on her best puppy dog pout. I'll be your elf. Please? It's all but impossible for Rael to resist that face. Expression. Always has been, but she still has a shred of self-respect remaining, and she's guarding it with her life. If she puts on that hat, she'll never hear the end of it. Sorry, but no. Tally's face falls, legitimately this time, and Rael almost steps up and takes the damn hat just to make that devastating frown disappear. Before she gets the chance, though, Abigail intervenes. I'll be your elf too, she announces, mouth set in a determined line as she steps up beside Tally. Rael scoffs. You? A sidekick? I am capable of humility, believe it or not, smirks Abigail. expression softening slightly. She claps a hand on Rael's shoulder. This is your night, Ray. Right now we're the collar unit, not the... She catches herself, eyes briefly darting to the busy booth keeper. Not my unit. Well, geez, when you put it like that, mutters Rael, averting her eyes as her cheeks turn pink. Clearing her throat, she rolls her eyes over to Tally. Fine. Yay! Cheers Tally. You won't regret this, Ray. I highly doubt that, she mutters. Abigail snorts beside her, giving her shoulder an affectionate shake as Tally flags down the booth-keeper and forks over the cash. They take their hats dutifully, slipping them on with sheepish smirks that contrast Tally's pure delight. Oh, that's priceless, says a semi-familiar voice behind them. Rael whips around to see Scylla standing there, arms crossed and eyebrow scar popping with the massive grin on her face. How sweet, Santa and her little helpers. Abigail scoffs. Who are you calling little? You're like 3 feet tall. Scylla raises an eyebrow, turning to Nicta. We're using this as blackmail, right? Oh, absolutely. You wouldn't dare, growls Abigail. Nicta smirks back at her. You do know who you're talking to, right? They hold that stalemate for several seconds before Tally steps between them, gesturing back toward the grandstand. Come on, it's almost 8. We should head over. Fine, grumbles Abigail, still glaring at Nicta over Tally's shoulder. Nicta takes the opposite approach, trading the cocky smirk for a charming smile in an instant. Yes, dear, he says far too sweetly, offering his arm to Tally with a completely innocent expression. It's impossible not to crack up at that, and the dumbfounded look on Tally's face just makes it funnier. Even Abigail snorts, muttering as she walks away. Wish we'd known all along how easy it was to defeat your lot. Cute girls, Rael piles on, pulling Scylla in tight and pressing a messy kiss to her temple. All you need for counterterrorism. Yeah, grumbles Scylla, but she's smiling. The music is already in full swing when they get back to the grandstand, and has been for a while, in fact. Rael doesn't understand why they were in a hurry to get over here, until Abigail veers over towards the rink, Tally and Nicta hot on her heels. Rael's feet slow as anxiety rises in her gut. Oh, is this a surprise? The whole trip's a surprise. This is just the scheduled part. Scylla looks over, her smile fading as she registers Rael's expression. Why? Are you okay? Shaking the shock from her face, Rael tells her, Yeah, I'm fine. Do you not want to do it? Asks Scylla. We don't have to. I mean, I pre-ordered the tickets, but it's not a big deal. The 2 of us can do something else. It's all good, Rael assures her. I just wasn't expecting it. Scylla smirks. You do know what surprise means, right? Yeah, Rael chuckles uneasily. She's not the biggest fan of surprises, but now doesn't seem like the time to explain that. After Scylla claims their tickets and skate tokens at the cashier, they join the lineup to trade in their boots for death blades. The skate counters are pretty busy right now, stragglers from the last session still handing theirs in and holding up the line. Rael's eyes flick out to the ice, watching the Zamboni like a hawk as it refreshes the dangerously slick surface. At least there'll be less ruts to trip her up and give her another concussion. You okay, Ray? Asks Abigail, squinting at her in concern. Yeah, mutters Rael. Just last time I skated, I bashed my head into the boards, had to go to the ER. Oh, shit. Scylla winces, squeezing her hand. Sorry, I didn't know. Peeking around Nicta, she adds, I don't think they have helmets for rent. Rael shakes her head. I wouldn't wear one anyway. The hat is bad enough. The hat's adorable, Tally assures her. Yeah, it's cute, agrees Scylla, giving her hand a steadying squeeze. Rael manages a weak smile in return. Nyx's mouth twitches, eyes scanning her from head to toe. Guessing you're not much of a skater? I've been a few times, Rael protests, suddenly defensive. It's not like there's an arena in her hometown, or many in the South in general. She didn't get a lot of chances to try. Still a few more than me, chirps Tally, but she doesn't seem deterred in the slightest, practically bouncing on her toes as they approach the front of the line. Rael can't help but admire her enthusiasm, as usual. Leaning away from Tally so he can look at both her and Rael, Nicta advises them, Make sure you 2 ask for hockey skates, not figure skates. The toe picks will trip you up. Ha, yeah, mutters Rael. I remember. They finally make it to the front of the line and bring their skates over to the cluster of bench, cubby thingies set up close to the Zamboni gate. Abigail and Nicta get set in a flash, nimble fingers flying over the laces and adjusting them with ease. Rael struggles just to get her foot inside. Why are the laces so bulky and weird? Scylla comes to her aid before long, which is nice, but also humiliating. Rael's a grown woman. She should be able to tie her own shoes. It's mostly the kids who have someone kneeling in front of them, fiddling with their skates. Tally being one of the few exceptions. "Is that too tight?" asks Scylla, taking up the slack around one of her ankles. "I don't know," grouses Rael. "How am I supposed to know how tight it should be?" Scylla gives her a look, and she averts her eyes. She knows she's being a jerk and unnecessarily cranky, especially given how Scylla went to all this effort to do something nice for her. But embarrassing herself in front of her unit isn't exactly her idea of a fun night out. Add Scylla and Nicta to the equation, and that makes it so much worse. "Is it pinching?" Scylla specifies patiently. "Can you roll your ankle?" Rael sighs and gives her an apologetic smile, flexing and rolling her ankle. Scylla seems pleased with the results and starts tying off the knot. "Hurry up, you guys," Abigail calls from the edge of the ice, which is already filling up with skaters. "We only have 40 minutes. "No one's stopping you, Bells," Rael shouts back as Scylla moves on to her second skate. Abigail rolls her eyes but lingers at the gate, apparently hesitant to go on her own. Rael doubts it's a lack of confidence, but clearly something is bothering her. Apparently Tally notices too. Prodding Nicta in the shoulder, she urges him, "Go on, keep her company. Scylla can help me." Abigail makes a face. "You think I want to hang out with her?" Rolling his eyes as he stands, Nicta teases, "What, Bells? Scared I'll skate circles around you?" "You wish," scoffs Abigail. "I figure skated for 3 years when I was a kid. And I played hockey for 8, retorts Nicta, stepping up beside her. "Yeah, back in the dark ages." "I still got it, kid," Nicta assures her, smirk as smug as ever. He jerks his head out at the ice. "Fancy a race?" "Nick, no!" Tally shouts. Abigail chuckles, her unfamiliar face morphing into a very familiar expression. "Oh, your ass is going down." "Guys!" Tally calls after them, but they've already taken off down the ice. "Shit." Scylla snorts under her breath, reefing on Rael's laces. "This is your fault, Tally." "Yeah, I know," grumbles Tally. Catching Scylla's eye, she gestures down at her untied skate. "Help me? Please?" "Sure," agrees Scylla, pasting on a smile, but Rael can sense her patience waning. She was probably expecting a nice romantic skate with a girlfriend who can totally stay on her feet, not babysitting a couple of baby lambs. Okay, it's not quite that bad. Once they're on the ice, Rael's relieved to find she actually can stay on her feet, even if she is unsteady from being years out of practice. Tally's another story, alternating between flailing like a windmill and clinging to the boards. Nicta really should be helping her, but as usual, she's busy having a pissing contest with Abigail. The dueling egos are all the way at the other end of the rink, showing off and trading tricks back and forth, completely oblivious to the struggling trio. It takes a minute, but Scylla and Rael finally coax Tally away from the boards, one on either side of her. It's a little nerve-wracking for Rael, given she's hardly confident in her own ability to stay upright. But on the bright side, she was expecting to be the clinger, not the clingy. "That's right, to the side and back," Scylla encourages Tally. "You're getting the hang of it." They're almost blown off their feet a second later when Nicta and Abigail fly by them, weaving through the crowd with ease. "Guys, stop it!" Tally calls at their backs. "You're gonna get us kicked out!" She yelps as she loses her balance, pitching forward and face-planting. Rael barely manages not to go down with her. "Ow!" "Oof, you okay, Tal?" asks Rael, wincing in sympathy. Tally groans, rolling over to flop on her back. "My knees will never be the same." Scylla snorts. "Dramatic much?" "I'm serious. They hurt more than when I was a biddy." Tally experimentally straightens her leg, genuine pain showing on her face. "Shit," mutters Rael. "Okay, hang on." Nabbing one of Tally's elbows, she nods over at the boards. "Syl, help me." Once they've dragged Tally the few feet to safety and gotten her propped up in relative comfort, Rael raises her eyebrows at Scylla. Obviously they're not supposed to be using magic right now, aside from their disguises, but this seems to qualify as an emergency. Scylla apparently agrees, giving her a small nod of understanding. Rael sucks in a breath and grabs the edge of the boards, shakily kneeling down in front of Tally. "Rael," Tally warns her, eyes wide as she clues in. "We can't risk it." "I can be subtle," Rael assures her. "Just checking you over, right?" Weaving her fingers through Tally's, she cups her knees and prods gently as she lets the healing magic flow through the link. "Does that hurt?" "No, that feels a lot better," admits Tally, her smile both sheepish and grateful. "Thank you." "Mm-hmm," hums Rael, smirking slightly as she holds her gaze, thumbs brushing the backs of her fingers. Someone slams on the brakes behind them, jerking Rael's head up. Nicta's standing over them, concern coloring his features. "Shit, you okay, Red?" "Yeah, I'm fine," Tally assures him with a smile as Scylla helps Raelle to her feet. Winding a finger in her uncharacteristically dark hair, she smirks and tacks on, "But you can't call me that tonight." "Okay, Brown," Nicta retorts, eyes sparkling with mischief. Tally scoffs and he looks up to her companions, mouth twitching sheepishly. "Sorry, I got distracted." "We noticed," deadpans Scylla. He shrugs. "You know what Bells is like." "Right, because that was totally her fault." Ignoring the completely deserved sass, Nicta reaches down to take Tally's hands. "Okay, Tal, I gotcha. Don't worry, we'll have you skating like a pro in no time." Nicta does, in fact, have a lot more success with the teaching aspect. It makes sense. She must have done a lot of teaching in her day. At least now she's using those skills for things other than murder and mayhem. This likely isn't her first time teaching someone to skate, either, given her level of confidence and expertise. Raelle watches with interest as she and Scylla pass the pair for the 4th time, noting Nicta's patient demeanor as he coaches Tally through her strides. He's so steady on his feet, skating backwards and holding on to Tally's hands, easily absorbing her jerky movements. Raelle wishes she could be steady like that. Maybe it comes with age. Though her failure with Tally stings a little, Raelle can admit skating is a lot easier without the resident beginner flailing and hanging off of her. It actually becomes kind of relaxing as she gets the hang of it again, relishing the crunching and swishing noises of the ice beneath her blades. She can start to appreciate the magic of it all, rounding the rink holding her girlfriend's hand under the twinkling lights, strains of Silent Night filtering into her ears. Smiling over at Scylla, Raelle prods, "So this is all your idea, huh?" Scylla smirks, attempting and failing a humble shrug. Quinn helped a little. "Thank you," says Raelle. She leans in to peck her on the cheek, pleased that she doesn't even lose her balance in the process. Wincing apologetically, she adds, "I'm sorry I snapped at you earlier. I just didn't want to look like an idiot." "You don't," says Scylla, squeezing her hand with a smile. "You're doing really well." Cheeks flaring hot, Raelle gives her a sheepish shrug. "Thanks." Of course Abigail chooses that exact moment to join them, cutting across the rink to literally skate circles around them. "Having a good time, Shitbird?" she asks on her second circuit, flipping around mid-stride to do it all again backwards. The face may be unfamiliar, but the pompous smirk and teasing gleam in her eye is all Abigail Bellwether, not to mention the audacity. "Sure am," retorts Raelle. "Don't have to look at your ugly mug for a whole night." Abigail grins, taken by the thrill of combat. She stops on a dime in front of them, forcing them to break as well. "You know, it's weird seeing you with normal hair," she remarks, reaching in to ruffle Raelle's chestnut locks through her Santa hat. "You should wear it loose more often." Raelle cocks a playful eyebrow, bumping Abigail's shoulder in passing. "If I did, how would you ever know I was gay?" "Oh, I'd know," chuckles Abigail, pulling back out in front of them. "You think you're subtle? You didn't know about Nick—" Raelle catches herself just before she says that dangerous name out loud, in public. "About Nick." Abigail's lips pucker. "You're never going to let that go, are you?" "Just saying," shrugs Raelle. "I need the gay hair to signal to the oblivious straights. And the hot queer girls," Scylla adds. "Yeah, mostly that," Raelle concurs. Abigail rolls her eyes and drifts away, apparently done with the conversation now that they've turned the teasing on her. "Whatever. Have a nice penguin waddle!" Raelle stops skating, letting her momentum carry her as she glares after Abigail. "You don't waddle like a penguin," Scylla assures her, hand coming to rest on the small of her back. "Tally waddles like a penguin." Shaking her head, Raelle chuckles in sympathy. "Poor Nick." "She's the one who wanted to come," Scylla points out. "Besides, she gets to hold her hands the whole time." "True." Watching Tally's adorable stumbles and steady improvement is actually the most entertaining part of the skate. Over the next 20 minutes, she progresses to skating with Nicta beside her, clinging to one of his hands. First with both hands, then with only one. She's still holding on tight and wobbling, but her stride is getting stronger. Her options for stopping remain limited to slamming into the boards or grabbing onto Nicta, but it's her first time. She's doing okay. "Guys, look! I'm doing it!" Tally calls to them in passing, waving in excitement. Of course she immediately flails and falls on her ass, pulling her boyfriend? Whatever, down with her. They land in a tangled heap, but Tally doesn't seem hurt this time, laughing from where she lies flat on her back, Nicta looming over her with a grin. Scylla chuckles, leaning harder on the boards they've chosen for a brief rest. "You think she did that on purpose?" "No way," says Raelle, shaking her head. "Tally's not that smooth." Just then, Tally cranes her neck and reaches up, grabbing the back of Nicta's head and pulling her down into a kiss. Rael winces at the sight, the whole different faces thing not doing much to settle the gurgling deep in her gut. She pushes out a steadying breath, reminding herself that it's better this way. Tally's happy, much happier than Rael ever anticipated she'd be with someone like Nicta. They work, for some weird reason, and Rael is free to be with Scylla without any lingering guilt. Things worked out. They're all going to be okay. Or maybe she is, Rael concedes. Come to think of it, Garrett pulled that same move on Tally at Beltane. Mine is the kissing part. Scylla hums, an amused smirk surfacing on her face. You have to admit, they're kind of cute. Rael's lips twitch up. No need to force it this time. Yeah, she muses, eyes flicking back to the new couple. It's nice seeing her happy again. A body invading Rael's space makes her glance over, eyes widening as she registers just how close Scylla has slidden. Scylla's arm wraps around Rael's waist, her free hand coming up to cup her cheek. That was really nice of you, murmurs Scylla, eyes locked on her lips. Forcing them up to meet Rael's, she smiles and nods out at the ice. You know, to invite her along. Rael's suddenly having a hard time breathing, but she manages a breathy, yeah. Swallowing to steady her voice, she twitches her mouth and gives Nicta another glance. I guess I know what it feels like to be the odd one out. To be lonely. It seems Scylla's heard enough, because she pushes up on her toe picks and kisses Rael on the mouth, eyes squeezing shut with the effort. Rael lets her own fall closed, and with her sight out of the equation, she can almost forget that she's kissing a different face. Scylla tastes the same, kisses the same, moves the same. The hand on Rael's waist slips under her coat and the hem of her shirt, icy fingers dragging across the small of her back. Rael shivers and pulls Scylla closer, deepening the kiss and pulling a moan from her girlfriend's lips. The voice is similar enough that she barely even notices. The sound of an indignant yelp is what breaks them apart. They turn back to the ice to find Abigail standing over the fallen pair, who are covered in her snow spray. Get a room, you two, she scolds them. Turning her glare on Rael and Scylla, she adds, all of you, for that matter. As she and Nicta disentangle themselves, Tally huffs, you know you'd be just as bad if Adil was here. Maybe, but he's not, grumbles Abigail. Gotta love being the fifth wheel. Rael's stomach bucks and she winces, pushing off the boards to join them. Shit, sorry, Bells, she says, hoping her sincerity is evident. I didn't mean to do that to you. Abigail rolls her eyes, but there's a hint of affection there. It's fine, she says. Someone needs to supervise all this gay nonsense. Turns out I'm the chaperone, huh? Huffing out a laugh, Rael mutters, yeah, I guess so. Abigail and Nicta help Tally to her feet, one supporting either side of her, and Rael bends down to retrieve her fallen elf hat. There you go, she declares as she plops it back on Tally's head, straightening it out with a cheeky grin. All better. Thanks, Santa, Tally says in a baby voice, tongue pushing out playfully. Only the best for my little helpers, Rael teases, flashing a smirk up at Abigail. Abigail huffs, adjusting her own hat. You're on thin ice, Shitbird. Yeah, what else is new? Waving Scylla over, Rael gestures out at the ice. Come on, Syl. Then she skates away under her own power, perfectly stable. Yeah, this isn't so bad after all. Chuckling as she catches up, Scylla remarks, I think Abigail's plotting an accident for you. Wouldn't be the first time. Rael glances across the ice as they loop back up the other side, catching a glimpse of the newly formed trio. Wincing again, she asks, I owe her one, don't I? For making her the fifth wheel? Yeah, maybe a little, admits Scylla. But hey, at least the others are happy. When Rael's expression doesn't change, Scylla takes her hand and smiles reassuringly. Don't worry, she'll get over it. Rael scoffs. Abigail's good at grudges. You think I don't know that? Scylla retorts, eyebrows sky high. Yeah, there's no arguing that. Scylla squeezes Rael's hand on the next turn, regaining her attention. How about we take a couple more laps and gear down? Rael squints, checking the big clock nearby. We still got like 10 minutes. Yeah, but I have another surprise for you. Eyes narrowing suspiciously, Rael teases, Does this one also involve almost breaking my neck? No, I promise, chuckles Scylla. You're gonna like this one, I swear. Okay then, Rael concedes with a smirk. After a couple closing laps, they stop at the gate to kick the snow off their blades and wave goodbye to the others. Tally and Abigail don't seem surprised, so clearly they're all in cahoots. The fact that only Scylla is accompanying Rael intrigues her, however. She doesn't mention it, though, not until they're truly alone. It's nearly 9:15 when they arrive at what appears to be their destination, a run-down little corner store a few blocks from the square. It wouldn't be Rael's first choice for a romantic getaway, but Scylla clearly knows what she's doing. "The way over is under," she tells the guy behind the counter. "The way out is in," he says. Waving them around the counter, he unlocks the door to what appears to be a break room. They follow him over to a second door, also locked, behind which is an office of some kind. "Need anything?" he asks, lagging behind as they enter. "Just some privacy," says Scylla, raising Rael's eyebrows. "Now that's interesting. Is this a romantic getaway?" Once the door shuts behind them, Scylla locks it from the inside and pulls out her lighter. "We're safe here." Rael obliges, fishing out her own and burning away her disguise. As the flames fade to embers, she squints into Scylla's eyes, her real eyes. "What are we doing here, Syl?" "I told you, it's a surprise," smirks Scylla. Rael's eyes narrow playfully. "Is that so?" "Mm-hmm," hums Scylla, matching her energy. "You know what I think?" muses Rael, adding a little extra gravel to her voice as she closes in. Scylla's breath stutters just a little, weight shifting onto her heels. "What?" The thrill of the hunt courses through Rael's veins, pushing a predatory grin onto her face. "I think you pulled me back here for a little privacy." Dragging the side of her finger down Scylla's jaw, she husks, "Is that it? 'Cause I gotta say, I missed your pretty face." Scylla cocks an eyebrow, smirking in a valiant attempt not to crumble. "You didn't think my disguise was hot?" "Oh no, she was," Rael assures her. "But she's not you." Scylla's tiny gasp and waver is all the invitation Rael needs. Gripping her hips, she backs her up against the door and kisses her hard. Scylla melts into her, weaving one hand in her braids and clawing the small of her back with the other, pulling their hips closer. Rael groans into the kiss but quickly detaches, kissing down Scylla's neck to nip at her pulse point. Scylla shudders and whimpers, head tipping back with a sigh as she goes pliant under Rael's touch. Oh, that's the best feeling in the world. A phone rings somewhere in the office, slicing through the air and rudely drowning out the sweet sound of Scylla gasping in her ear. "Oh, shit," hisses Scylla, pushing off the door slightly. Rael shoves her back into place, pinning her harder. "Leave it," she growls. "No, can't," pants Scylla, though everything about her body language says she'd rather do just that. Blinking the lust from her eyes, she gestures at the phone. "That's for you." A head rush washes over Rael, her jaw dropping and eyes bulging as the realization hits. She knows exactly what's going on here. Her desire dissolves in an instant, leaving only nerves and gratitude in its place. "Scylla." Scylla's smile is small but proud, full of encouragement. "Answer it." Swallowing hard, Rael crosses to the desk on autopilot. Her hand hovers over the receiver for just a second as she tries to gather her wits, prepare herself for what's about to happen. This is all she wanted for Christmas, and somehow she's not ready for it. But that phone won't ring forever, so she womans up and lifts it from his cradle before she loses her chance. As she slowly raises it to her ear, Rael swallows once more and prays she's not wrong. "Hello? Ray?" comes a very anxious, very familiar voice that sends a warm rush of relief through her veins. "Is that you?" "Dad?" Rael's voice cracks, a sob bursting from her lips. "Oh my God, Dad!" "Hey, kiddo," he breathes, the relief palpable in his tone. "How you doing?" Rael opens her mouth to answer, but all that comes out is another sob. She covers her mouth, trying to get a hold of herself, but her face crumples despite her best efforts. Planting her hand on the desk, she resorts to burying the mouthpiece in her chest so at least he doesn't have to hear her cry. A warm body envelops Rael, holding her up as she shakes with mostly silent sobs. "Shh, it's okay," whispers Scylla, rubbing her back. "It's okay." "Ray, are you there?" Her dad's voice is muffled in her shoulder, but it's loud enough to hear. Peeling the mouthpiece away just enough to answer, Scylla answers for her. "She's here, Edwin. Just give her a minute." With the arms wrapping around her again, Rael leans into Scylla and lets her tears drip down on her shoulder. Her throat aches, producing mostly useless hissing noises as she shudders under the overpowering emotions. She hates this, hates feeling so weak. Here she is, completely wasting the opportunity she's been dying for. Abigail's found ways to contact her mom. Callie doesn't want to talk to hers. Rael's been the one powerless to get what she wants and needs, and now it's been handed to her, and the seconds are ticking away because she's too emotional. She needs to pull herself together. Shaking her head, Raelle straightens up, taking her own weight. Scylla seems to understand, backing up a little as she forces some deep breaths through her tightened throat. It takes a moment, but finally she gets her breathing settled enough to talk. She squeezes her eyes shut and holds tight to the back of the chair, bracing herself both emotionally and physically as she returns the phone to her ear. "I'm here." "Are you okay?" asks Edwin, the anxiety making a resurgence. "Yeah," she says. "I'm all right, I swear." "Shit, I'm sorry, Ray. I didn't mean to upset you." "You didn't," she assures him. "It's just so good to hear your voice." Her voice wavers over those last few words as her throat swells again, dangerously close to closing over. Swallowing hard, she manages to whisper, "I miss you so much." "I miss you too," he replies, an audible strain in his own voice. He has to pause, clearing his throat before pressing on. "So, you're safe? Everyone's okay?" "Yeah," Raelle answers with a sniffle. "Yeah, we're all fine." "Quinn keeping you in line?" Raelle laughs, wiping a residual tear from her cheek. "Yeah, always." "And what about that other witch that escaped? The spree leader. Is she with you?" Tensing with uncertainty, Raelle glances over at Scylla for guidance. Heeding her subtle head shake, she says, I think that might be classified." "Don't give me that army bullshit," snaps Edwin. "You're not with the army right now. I am your father. You tell me what's going on." Raelle's eyes flutter shut, her shoulders slumping with a silent sigh. She used to hate it when he'd use that tone on her, but damn if she hasn't missed it since she left. "I've barely slept in over a month, Raelle," he insists, voice marginally softer but no less earnest. "I need to know my baby girl is safe." Sighing in surrender, Raelle flashes Scylla a grimace of apology and turns away before she can see the disappointment on her face. She leans back to rest her butt on the edge of the desk, winding the spiral phone cord around and around her wrist as she admits, "Nicta's with us, but she won't hurt me." "How do you know that?" presses Edwin. "The spree hates us, Ray. If she finds out what you are, she knows." Raelle cuts in. "It's fine. We have an understanding." "You're sure?" "Yeah," insists Raelle. "Trust me, we've talked about it." His sigh of relief allows Raelle to relax too, though her brow quickly creases again with a new round of troubling thoughts. Her dad really knows nothing, does he? He doesn't even know that his wife was alive until very recently, let alone that she was part of the spree. Raelle should probably explain that whole situation at some point. It might make him less afraid of the spree. Or maybe more. It's a lot to take in. She'd know. Toying with the cord, Raelle frowns into the mouthpiece. She doesn't want to hurt her dad, but she doesn't want to leave him in the dark either. He's right. He deserves to know the truth. But he deserves to hear it from her, and not over the phone. Now's not the time. All she can do is hope that time comes, that one day she gets the opportunity to tell him face to face. For now, she settles on a different way to reassure him. "Besides," she says, "Tally's got her wrapped around her finger. She wouldn't dare." "Kinda thought you were the one Tally was wrapping up," remarks Edwin. His tone is teasing, but Raelle can hear the sincerity lurking behind it. "You two were sure cozy when you came here." Raelle's eyes dart back over to Scylla, who thankfully has moved out of earshot. But it's Scylla, isn't it?" Yeah," she mutters, sighing with relief. "Long story, but yeah." "Maybe you can tell me all about it sometime when it's just us." Raelle can just hear the gentle smile in his voice. "Yeah," she says. "Yeah, I'd like that." She means it, but she also doesn't want to talk about that yet, and not just because Scylla's here. It's still too fresh. Tugging gently on the cord, she searches the room for a change of subject. "Hey, you're not calling from home, are you?" No, too dangerous," he says. "Probably got 5 different government agencies tapping my phone." "At least," cracks Raelle, letting him think it's a joke. He doesn't need to know all the layers of conspiracy the army's been uncovering, just how much of the government and law enforcement are in bed with the Camarilla. Maybe he deserves that truth too, but how can she burden him with that? This is supposed to be a nice Christmas phone call, not a parent's worst nightmare. "I'm at Nemama's," he tells her, "in the back. Some nice Dodger lady said I could trust them, told me when and where to call." It doesn't take a genius to guess who set that up. "Good old Quinn," says Raelle, smiling affectionately. "What would we do without her?" "I have no clue." They talk a while longer, mercifully landing on less charged topics. Raelle asks him about work, he asks her about her unit. She can't give too many details and risk compromising the safe house should anyone be listening, but she does pass on a few funny stories and tell him what they've been up to tonight. "Wait, so you're wearing it right now?" he asks. Yeah, swear to God, she chuckles, fingering the fluffy fringe of her hat. Tally wouldn't let it go, and Abigail suckered me into it. This is your fault, by the way. They've been roasting the shit out of me ever since they found out I believed in Santa Claus. Edwin's laughter filters through the receiver, warming Rael's cheeks and heart. Aw, come on, Ray. Every kid should believe in Santa Claus. I gave you the gift of Christmas wonder. More like the gift of gullibility, she retorts, but she's smiling. Don't listen to them, he urges her softly. They would have believed it too. You were always a smart kid. I just wanted to let you be normal for as long as I could, you know? Suddenly he backtracks, or, not normal, I don't mean witches aren't normal, but I didn't want your whole life to revolve around service to the country, you know? I want to let you live a little, let you be free. Yeah, I know, says Rael, her voice reduced to a whisper by the squeezing of her throat. Clearing it as subtly as she can, she tells him, Thanks, Dad. You're welcome, kid. Edwin pauses then, a rustle coming over the line as he shifts his position, and Rael's heart sinks. He doesn't even have to say it, but he does. Hey, so I need to get going, he tells her. They're closing for the night. Been trying to kick me off the phone for the last 5 minutes. Eyes falling shut, Rael nods against the receiver. Okay. You stay safe, you hear me? I will, Rael promises. Don't worry, I kind of have the most powerhouse coven ever. I'm counting on it, he says. Okay, I gotta go. I love you, Ray. Love you too, Dad, she replies, breathing steadily to control her voice. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, he echoes. I hope Santa treats you well. I told him you were really good this year. Rael snorts, smirking against the mouthpiece. Dad. He laughs. I'll make breakfast tomorrow, same as always, okay? I'll be thinking of you. Rael nods stoically, ignoring the burning in her eyes. Quinn and I are going to as well. Hesitating just a second, he murmurs. I miss you, kid. I miss you too, she whispers, the first tears starting to roll down her cheeks. Take care. Say hi to everyone for me. I will. Swallowing hard, she says, Bye, Dad. Bye, Ray, he says, and then the line goes dead with a click. Exhaling heavily, Rael twists to hang up the phone behind her, never taking her weight off the desk. She's not sure she could stand right now if she tried. I'm sorry, says Scylla, approaching her the same way you would a wounded animal. I should have warned you. No, it's okay, Rael sniffles, wiping her eyes. That's the best Christmas surprise I've ever had. Scylla steps in front of her, grasping her shaking hands. What do you need right now, Ray? Rael swallows, completely vulnerable as she looks up. Just hold me? That's all Scylla needs to hear, stepping in to wrap her arms around Rael and pull her head to her chest. Rael sighs in relief, relaxing into the warmth and letting the tears flow down her face. Admittedly, this is the first time she's wished Scylla was somebody else, but she luxuriates in the embrace all the same. It's not exactly what she needs, but she does need it. Scylla holds her in silence for a few minutes, finally breaking it with a kiss to the top of her head. We should head back. Do we have to? Grumbles Rael. Abigail's expecting us. Rael makes a face into her chest. I'd hate to disappoint Her Majesty. Scylla laughs, her ribcage vibrating against Rael's skull in a way that makes her smile. She misses her dad. She misses her home. But in a way, this almost feels like home. She's safe here with Scylla, with her unit. She's safe, and she's loved. Hell, they took a whole night out of their lives just to take her somewhere and cheer her up. She may not have thought so that first day in the barracks, but she really won the lottery. Reclaiming their disguises, she and Scylla head back through the store. When Scylla pushes the door open, they're greeted by fresh flakes falling from the sky, coating the street in white. Rael laughs, stretching her tongue out to catch the cold little specks, and Scylla follows her lead, eyes shining with affection. Eventually she wraps an arm around Rael's waist, guiding her back to the square and her waiting unit. The walk back feels almost magical. Rael feels lighter after that phone call, joyful in a way she hasn't in a long time, and the snow falling around them just adds to the effect. It didn't snow a lot back home, but believe it or not, one of her earliest memories is of snow. She was sitting on her dad's shoulders, eyes wide with wonder as he pointed out the Christmas lights around them, and the flakes started coming down, settling on his hat and catching on her mittens. She was enraptured, totally caught up in her innocent wonder. The world was so beautiful then. But the world is still beautiful now. It's messed up, sure, but in this moment she can feel echoes of that same innocent wonder. She feels so present with the night air stinging her cheeks and fresh snow crunching under her boots. It's starting to accumulate on Scylla's beanie, catching in her hair. Goddess, the sight of her is even more breathtaking than normal, even if she's wearing the wrong face. This is Scylla. Raelle knows it. And Raelle loves her. Gripping Scylla's arm, Raelle pulls her to a stop under a streetlight. It's extra beautiful here, the glow lighting up the drifting flakes like they're in a snow globe or something. Raelle knows a lot about magic, but this feels like the most magical moment of her life. Scylla raises a questioning eyebrow, and Raelle cups her cheeks and kisses her. Soft and slow, nothing like back in the store. She probes gently against Scylla's tongue and lips, relishing the warmth and shared breath. Scylla's arms loop around her shoulders as she goes up on her toes, pulling their bodies closer and deepening the kiss. This goes on for several moments before Raelle finally pulls back, taking in the beautiful sight once more. Scylla takes a little longer to recover, lips still parted and eyelashes fluttering under the weight of the tiny flakes sticking to them. When they finally fully open, she smiles questioningly up at Raelle. What was that for? Thank you, Scylla, murmurs Raelle, gloved thumbs stroking her cheek. This was wonderful. This whole night, Scylla beams as she trails off, cupping the hand that rests on her cheek. You're welcome. I'd do anything to make you smile like this. You know that? Raelle nods, another surge of emotion clogging her throat. I love you so much. I love you too, murmurs Scylla, pressing their lips together once more. They linger there a few seconds, wrapped up in each other in the moment, until a shout makes Raelle look up. Peering through the downfall, she can just make out 3 vaguely familiar figures running around at the edge of the square, pelting each other with snowballs. And Nicta's the chaperone, right, drawls Scylla. Raelle grins down at her, jerking her head and running towards the mayhem. Her first snowball beans an unsuspecting Abigail right in the side of the head, drawing a deadly glare from her and howls from Tally and Nicta. Oh, you're going down, Shitbird. Gotta catch me first, she shouts, scampering into cover. Scylla joins the fray, and soon there are no allegiances, no treaties to be made. They don't stop until they're all collapsed in one of the snowbanks, breathless from exertion and laughter. Who knew you had such an arm collar? Nicta remarks from the other side of Tally, rolling onto his side to give her an impressed look. Were you a softball lesbian? Damn straight, says Raelle. Damn gay, you mean, cracks Abigail, and they dissolve into a new round of giggles. It's a terrible joke, but who the fuck cares? As Raelle lies there, eyes on the sky and peals of laughter shaking her ribs, surrounded by her friends, she can't help thinking about the Advent candles, the ones they'd always light at church. Hope, peace, love, and joy. Yeah, this is what Christmas is all about. Scylla drives them home, holding Raelle's hand the whole way. Tally falls asleep on her girlfriend's shoulder the second they're on the highway, and Abigail passes out soon after. Raelle's pretty wiped too, but she knew she would be. Apparently the face-changing thing gets easier to manage the more you do it, but for beginners it takes quite a chunk out of your magical stores. Still, Raelle forces herself to stay awake, enjoying the passing constellations of headlights and the glow they cast on her girlfriend's face. She always appreciates the view a little bit extra after they've been in disguise, and right now she's feeling extra grateful to have this amazing woman in her life. The left side of the garage is already open when they pull up to the house, Quinn sweeping around the ATVs parked there. She greets them with a wave as the other door rolls up and Scylla parks them safely inside. Raelle doesn't even wait for the engine to turn off before she's leaping out the door, rounding the car and throwing her arms around her second mother. Quinn catches her with a loud oof, stumbling back a step before wrapping her up with a laugh and rocking her back and forth. Face buried in Quinn's coat, Raelle squeezes hard. Thank you, Quinn. You're welcome, she says, kissing Raelle's temple and lingering a moment. How is he? Finally pulling back, Raelle shrugs and gives her mouth a little twitch. He's okay. Worried, though. I think he'll do better now that we've talked, now that he knows I'm safe. Quinn nods, squeezing her shoulder. We all sleep a lot better when we know you're safe, Ray Ray. Ray Ray? Squeaks Tally. Raelle winces, turning to see her approaching with the most enamored expression on her face. That is so cute! Why have we never heard that before? This is exactly why, deadpans Raelle, fighting off a blush. Tally coos, petting a hand through Raelle's hair. Wait, she says suddenly. Where's your hat? It's right here, Nicta calls from across the garage, waving the Santa hat in her grip. Crossing to join them, she pulls it roughly over Raelle's ears, ruffling it for good measure. There you go, caller. Wouldn't want you to forget to show Mommy. Thank you, Raelle deadpans, glaring at her from under the fringe. Nicta smirks in that way she always does. You are so very welcome. It looks great, says Quinn, tipping the hat back a little and smiling. I'm glad you had a good time. She sure did, agrees Abigail, sneaking up to wrap an arm around Rael's shoulders. And for the record, she's the blaster in a snowball fight. Oh, I knew that, chuckles Quinn. Her eyes dart over Rael's shoulder and back. Then she nods in that direction. Hey, Ray, we have another surprise for you inside. Why don't we head on in? Rael turns to see Scylla standing by the door to the house, wearing one of her trademark mischievous grins. Oh no, is this another bad surprise? Wait and see, teases Scylla. Groaning as the group pushes her forward, Rael surrenders to whatever they've planned for her now. But she's barely out of the mudroom before she knows it's a good surprise, her eyes lighting up as the scent hits her nose. No way, she shouts, bursting into the kitchen and searching for the source. It takes her a second, given how short said source is, but she finds it. Dill and Kalita are standing in the living room, proudly flanking a miniature tree. They've got it decked out with tinsel, tiny lights, even a star on top. All we could drive home on the quad, Dill explains sheepishly, gently patting the star. Hope you like it. Like it? You guys! Rael jogs over, throwing her arms around Adil. They don't usually hug, but she's in the giving spirit. Oh my god, I can't believe you did all this for me. You should, says Kalita, ambushing Rael with a surprise hug the second she releases her brother. Aw, kiddo. Rael gives her hair a little ruffle, grinning down at her. She used to think Kalita was kind of a dick, but she's actually a really sweet kid. Terrifying, but sweet. Someone turns on the radio in the kitchen, sending strains of jingle bells all through the house. Break out the wine, shouts Abigail, lifting a bottle high in the air. It's time to start the Christmas party. Tally lifts a second bottle behind her, pumping her fist and breaking into dance. But no wine for Kalita, interjects Nicta, giving the kid a playful glare as she crosses the kitchen. Kalita growls at her. I said I was sorry. Nicta grins in reply, vaulting over the couch and landing deftly on the cushion. And I forgave you. Winking fiendishly, she assures her. But trust me, I will never forget. When Kalita growls quietly in frustration, Rael gives her shoulder a little punch. Hey, it could be worse. At least you didn't believe in Santa Claus. Love the hat, by the way, teases Adil. Thank you, Rael teases back sweetly, not missing a beat. Tally made me wear it. Then Tally has good taste, he says. I like to think so, Nicta pitches in from the couch. Yeah, scoffs Rael. She likes her women the way she likes her wine. Aged well. Aged to perfection, Nicta corrects her with a wink. Don't you forget it. Leave her alone, Nicta, Tally scolds her girlfriend, handing her a glass of wine and joining her on the couch. Today is her day. And here I thought it was all about baby Jesus, remarks Abigail, sidling up to Adil with another 2 glasses. Technically, yes, Rael agrees, though I think a lot of people would say it's about Santa. Then there you go, grins Abigail. It is your day after all. Yeah, mutters Rael, fiddling with a fluffy ball on the end of her cap. Scylla and Quinn join them a moment later, carrying 4 more glasses. Just a sip, Quinn clarifies, handing the mostly empty glass to Kalita. Clearly you need to work on your tolerance. Aren't you supposed to be the good influence? Remarks Nicta. Shush, hisses Tally, swatting her thigh. Rael snorts, turning to Scylla as she arrives. Thanks, babe, she says, taking 1 glass off her hands. For everything. Hums Scylla, pecking her on the cheek. Warmth explodes from the point of contact, but Rael resists the urge to duck her head, holding Scylla's gaze. The tiny tree lights are reflecting in her girlfriend's eyes, and it's a downright dazzling display, almost as dazzling as Scylla herself. Her smile is truly radiant, full of love and pride as she extends her glass for Rael to clink. Merry Christmas, Rael. Rael smiles, warmth spreading through her body. Answering with a kiss on the lips, she clinks the glasses together. Merry Christmas, Syl. It's not a normal Christmas party, not in the slightest. Most of them don't know the words to the songs on the radio, especially the hymns, and the fudged lyrics get progressively worse as the night rolls along and they drain the bottles of wine. There's no turkey, no stuffing, no ugly sweaters. They have half a tree, no other decorations, and no presents. None of that matters. All that matters is this weird, dysfunctional family went out of their way to make Rael feel included, appreciated, loved. She thought she'd be celebrating Christmas alone, but she's not alone. Not even close.
Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.